Welcome back, everyone. I'm attorney Craig Steger, the trucking lawyer. Today, I wanted to talk about a few things. Specifically, wanted to talk about my experience with trucking school and taking the test to get my commercial driver's license. And also, I want to talk a little bit about some recent controversy over whether the quote unquote farm exemption for commercial driver's licenses is that a good thing? There be changes made, things like that. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's start first of all with me. So if you've been following my videos at all, you know that I've been in the process of getting my commercial driver's license. I got my permit a couple of months ago, I think in July, it was 3 months ago, and started trucking school in September. And I hired a local school, very good. I really recommend them. But I had 30 hours basically of training available to me to get ready for the commercial driver's exam. And so I finished that training. I was kind of ready to take my test. So I took my test earlier this week, and very fortunately I passed all three parts of the exam. I'll talk about that a little bit, but I wanted to first of all talk a little bit about my experience in a trucking school and why I decided to get my commercial license. So my decision to get a commercial license actually started because I had purchased an old, well, not super old, but a retired school bus. It's a 40-foot flat-nosed Bluebird, has a Cat diesel engine in it. It's an automatic. It's not a manual transmission. I don't think they make many school buses anymore that are not automatics, but it has air brakes, and I have never used air brakes before. And I'm in the process of converting the school bus into an RV, going to get it titled as an RV. And under most states, but certainly here in Wisconsin, if you have an RV license, generally speaking, you can operate that legally with just a Class D driver's license that most of us have. I didn't really think that was a great idea. I was going to be hauling our 9 children, as well as, concerned about other people on the road. And so even though I wouldn't necessarily have to get a commercial license, I just felt like it was a good idea, and just give me options. So I decided to go down the road of getting my commercial license. And then sort of at the same time, I started doing a lot more trucking and farm related cases. So I represent injured people, workers in 3 states, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. And I realized that the training would actually help me a lot in helping to understand these cases, the natures of crashes. And so that was kind of what put me over. So I said, I'm going to go ahead and get my commercial license. And it coincided with one of my children, my second son, my third oldest, graduated high school this year, and he decided to get his commercial driver's license. So he was a little bit ahead of me, but I kind of followed in his path, and got my permit, and went ahead and started trucking school. And I used Ready to Run Trucking out of Viroqua. Highly recommend them. Great group of guys, very professional. I got a lot of good experience. I felt very, very comfortable with the exam by the time I was done. So if you want to get a hold of those guys, we'll put a link in the description to those guys and tell them I sent you. So I had a great experience in trucking school. So you start trucking school, you have to have your permit first, which is go down, at least here in Wisconsin, you go down to the DMV. You have to get a Fed Med card first. So I saw a doctor, got the physical, got all that checked out, got a Fed Med card, and then took I think there was 3 tests that I took because I was seeking my Class A CDL. So for those that don't know, there's different classes of commercial driver's license. The biggest ones are Class A and Class B, as well as like bus and chauffeur. I think school bus have their own endorsements, but basically Class A and Class B. Class A is, let's say, your classic tractor trailer. It's an articulated vehicle. And so I decide, if you have a Class A, you can drive a Class B vehicle, but if you only have a Class B, you can't necessarily drive a Class A, so tractor trailer. So I figured I'm going to go ahead and get the Class A, then I'm covered. And then you make a decision on whether you want the air brakes endorsement. So I decided, yes, I might as well. So again, if you can drive for air brakes, you're allowed to drive for non-air brake systems like a hydraulic system. But if you don't have the air brakes endorsement, you can't drive a truck that has air brakes. So I took 3 tests to get my permit. I believe it was a general knowledge, and then the articulated vehicle portion of the exam, dealing with what to do when you have a trailer, and then the air brakes is a separate written exam. Those are all written exams. I took those, passed those, got my permit, and then I think the permit is good for like 6 months, and so then that allowed me to then start the trucking school. I did have to take a written exam for them beforehand, got that taken care of, and then I just started driving. And literally on the first day I showed up, put me behind the wheel, and I went out for a drive. The truck I was driving was I think it was a late 90s Kenworth. It was a sleeper unit, 18 speed. Don't remember the motor in it, but it was an 18 speed, and then it was pulling about probably a 48-foot aluminum like dump trailer for hauling like sand and rock and stuff like that. But it had a big hydraulic hoist to dump out the back. And that was our unit. That's what we trained on. And so yeah, I just went over 3 or 4 hours at a time. We'd go for a drive. We would do pre-trips pretty much every time. And then I started, once I was comfortable with the driving, started to learn the shifting. And then I kind of started practicing the backing maneuvers. Yeah, so the driving the semi, it was a little overwhelming at first because it's big. I didn't really struggle too much with the shifting in terms of like upshifting. The double clutching was new for me. I never had to do that before. And then downshifting was certainly a new thing because you had to essentially give it gas when you were going to downshift in order to match the RPMs to the road speed. So that was awkward the first few times. By the end, I pretty much had downshifting figured out, but that was kind of a steep learning curve for me. I did a lot of driving in town. We have kind of a rural community in western Wisconsin, going through small towns that are 25 to 35 miles per hour, kind of small intersections. So learning to make curves without hitting the curb, learning to drive through town, picking the right gears so that you're not going too slow, but you're also not speeding, roundabouts, intersections. And then we did sort of towards the end, I went out and drove through Crosse, which is where we're at now. It's a little larger city, went downtown and then went out to the interstate, got to go through the scale house, the weigh station. I didn't actually go on the scale, but we had to go through the weigh station, got that experience. But yeah, so truck driving school was a lot of fun. I actually really looked forward to it, and I missed when I couldn't do it. I was usually doing it 2 days a week. Sometimes it was less, sometimes a little more, but I had a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed it, and I got some good video for that. I'll be giving you guys some videos from me driving during the school. So anyway, it came time to take my exam. So I took my exam this week. I studied probably more than I needed to or should have, but I wanted to make sure I passed it. I didn't really want to go back and do it again. The pre-trip was fine. I had that nailed down. I didn't miss any points on the pre-trip. Then we moved on to the parking lot maneuvers. The one I was concerned about was the reverse offset backing. That took me a little bit. I had to learn to kind of not overthink it too much and just kind of go by feel. And I kind of dialed that in the last couple of days beforehand, and I was able to do that. I think I used one pull up and one get out just to verify that I was in the box. But I passed that. That was great. And then it was just on to the driving test. And the driving test, I felt pretty comfortable. Little nerves at first, but basically I was just making sure don't kill the truck, don't hit any curbs. Those were my two things because I know those are, I think, automatic failures. So I was trying making sure I didn't kill the truck and I didn't run on any curves when we turned. And then obviously making sure you don't get into any crashes or anything like that. So did great on that. Kind of did it a nice time of day. There wasn't a ton of traffic. Probably the biggest thing I was concerned about was stoplights. There's a number of stoplights in the area where we test, and they're in like a 45 mile per hour zone. So you're approaching it, trying to be able to slow down and stop if needed to, but also being able to continue through if the light changed on you. And so that was probably that part of it tends to get people the most in the area that we test. I lucked out. Stoplights all were kind of favorable for me. I had plenty of notice and did all that fine. Did the train track part of it. We didn't go over any train tracks, but you do a simulated one. And then had to pull over and stop along a curb. That was fine. Actually, kind of got surprised. We had some cops. There was something going on in town. There was a number of cops around with their lights on. I actually had one pull out right in front of me, as I was going from a 25 to a 35 to a 25 mile per hour zone, and in the process of shifting from, I think I was trying to shift from sixth to fifth, and then had to pull over, and I got a little scrambled. I was not able to get it in gear, and I just had to kind of get over to the side, stop, put the four ways on, and then start over. I didn't get dinged for that, fortunately. So I missed 3 points on it. I think I missed one for crossing the fog line once. I missed one for not adequately checking as I was going through an intersection. And then I think the third one was for grinding gears a little bit too much. But I was very happy with that. 3 points. I think I was allowed up to 30 points off, so I was safe there. I didn't kill the truck. Got it close when I pulled in when we were returning in. He kind of surprised me on the entrance he wanted me to go in, and as I was shifting down, I somehow dropped it into low gear, so that was a little bit awkward. But got in, didn't kill the truck, didn't hit any curbs. Passed that, so I got my commercial license and went to the DMV the next day. Got that going, so I'm just waiting for my card to come in the mail. I don't know if I'll do much driving actually, or what, but what I have in mind is to I'd like to drive dump truck a little bit. So I got a couple leads for some places that I might be able to do some occasional driving, weekend loads, because that's, in our area, rural, there's a lot of dump truck traffic, and so I didn't get to drive a dump truck yet, other than just kind of around the parking lot. So I might do a little dump truck work. And also I'd like to see if I could get a chance to drive a farm truck, maybe pulling a silage wagon, a silage trailer or manure trailer or something like that. I'd like to get a chance to go in and out of the fields and be chopped into or drop manure, things like that. So those are some of the things I'm thinking about doing. And maybe I'll just be driving our school bus. Who knows? So yeah, very happy to have that done. Glad to have my CD. Fortunately, it's so I'm no restrictions on it, so I can drive air brakes. I can drive a stick shift. The only real restriction I have is I have to have glasses on. So yeah, finished that. Really excited about that. So I'm happy to have that done, and then we'll kind of see how it plays into my life going forward. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, because I've talked about it on some other videos and has gotten, there's been some controversy about it, is most people know and understand that there is in most states, Wisconsin included, and I think this is true also for Iowa and Minnesota, for farmers and farm employees, as long as you're only hauling your own goods, your own crops, cattle, manure, stuff like that, you can generally drive a commercial motor vehicle without having a commercial driver's license. There are generally restrictions on that. Usually have to stay within a certain radius of the farm. I think in Wisconsin it's 150 miles. Like I said, you can't do any for-hire work, and you can't cross state lines with that. But as I understand it, in Wisconsin at least, as long as you have a Class D license, so if you're 16 or 16 and a half, you can legally drive a semi, truck and trailer for farm work, even without a CDL or really any kind of training at all. There was a recent crash near here that involved a 17-year-old man who was driving, I think it was a tractor trailer. I think it was a silage truck. I'm not sure if he was empty or loaded, but he got into a very bad crash. Looks like he wasn't paying attention and rear-ended a vehicle, and then kind of went into the next lane and had a head-on collision with another vehicle. And so I don't think he could have had a commercial driver's license because he was only 17. You have to be 18 to be eligible. So my assumption is he was working for a farm. Whether he was meeting all the requirements for the exemption, I don't know, but he at least theoretically could have been legally driving that truck and trailer as a 17-year-old. And the question is that a good idea? And should there be any kind of training requirement for truck drivers for farms? There's a lot of mixed feelings about it. There are those, including some farmers, that strongly feel you should just have a CDL that should be required. And then there's a lot of other people, especially farmers, that feel like they're just as good, or if not better, drivers than commercial driver's license, commercial guys with commercial driver's license, or gals. And I'm sort of in between, having just gone through the process of testing for and studying for. I got a ton of value out of my class, out of the testing process, and I definitely feel like I'm a better, safer driver than I would have been had I not had that experience. So I just don't know how you could argue that not having that training makes you just as safe or safer than someone that has that training. Whether it should be required or not, I think that's a different question. Maybe they consider raising the age, maybe make it 18, the same way it is for getting a commercial license. I don't know. Maybe they should require some sort of training or classes. There's classes for like driving UTVs, ATVs, even tractor safety classes, hunter safety. Maybe it's time to think about requiring some kind of training for, say, farm workers that aren't going to get a CDL. But that's my feeling. I think it's a good idea. And I think even if you're not, let's say, technically required to, even if they don't make it mandatory, I'm a strong believer that having that training and getting your CDL is just a good idea. And I actually think it's a good business. It makes good business sense for farmers. You want to be safe. You want your employees to be safe. You want to be safe for your family. And I hope you want the road to be safe for other people that are sharing the road with you. And so I strongly encourage anyone who's going to drive either a straight truck or a tractor trailer of any sort to really think about getting some training, going through school, trying to get your CDL, because I just think it's going to make you a better person, a better driver, safer driver. You're going to know how to like inspect your truck and all that kind of stuff. So I guess I'm on the side of I think people should get it. Whether it should be required or not, maybe that's a different question. Yeah, I I definitely see the value of having that training and having that license. And I'm glad I got mine, and I kind of hope other people do the same thing. But let me know. Let me know in the comments if you have strong feelings about that one way or another. Should it be required to have a CDL license? Should there be some more restrictions, such as age or maybe even the types of roads that you can drive on with let's say, a farm exempt license? I think those are all things that are worthy of consideration. So let me know in the comments if you have strong feelings about that one way or another. If you'd like more information, if you'd like to get a hold of me, best way to reach me is just go to my website. That's farmandtruckinjury.com. I always have a link to that in the description. You can go on there. You can message me. You can call me. You can send me an email as well if you like. That's always in the description. But if you'd like to get a hold of me, and if you're interested in, let's say, coming on the show, if you'd like to do a video with me, I'm very open to doing that. So just get a hold of me, DM me, leave me a message, whatever. Let's chat. I'd love to talk to you about it. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you found that helpful and useful. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. I appreciate it if you have a chance to like and subscribe. Otherwise, stay tuned for further videos wherever you consume my content. Thank you.